welcome to episode 2 of Glad You Asked. Think of it like wandering through IKEA with no map, no exit, and a faint suspicion that the lamps are plotting against you. You'll leave confused, maybe a little enlightened, and definitely missing at least one screw. That's the vibe today. I'm Brandon, president and founder of Gladly Network. Yeah, if you didn't listen to the first one, you didn't miss much. So let's get going with the second one. Introducing Jamie. Jamie, tell the people who you are.
All right, I'm Jamie. Welcome to episode 2. I'm the director of impact here at Gladly.
And our visitor, our guest today, the alien,
Yeah.
Oh.
resident alien,
What?
Ben Morrison, CEO of Made Simpler. It's a AI-driven marketing company, the voice behind Be the Better, the philosophy there, and great guy, brilliant guy, loves Spinal Tap. He's beautiful and glorious, and all of those positive words. Right, Ben?
I don't know if anybody's going to believe you after you said all of those things, but thank you for the introduction, and I appreciate it. And I will try to live up to at least one of those descriptors.
Well, you win some,
sure
you lose some, right?
You won't let us down, Ben. We have faith.
All right, so Ben, tell us about Made Simpler. What tell the people at home. I feel like I know a lot, but tell the people at home about Made Simpler. Tell them about yourself. Maybe do a better job of introducing yourself than I did.
So, I guess start with myself. With myself, I started in sales when I was about 20 years old. Kind of started down an entrepreneurial path. I actually started selling. I started with my own business, which was a window cleaning business, and that I found. I basically bought a friend's business, and he said, "Hey, you know what? You'll just do this business, and you're going to just make money hand over fist." That was not the truth. I actually bought the business, and I was starving right out of the gate. So because I had no other choice, I had to just start figuring out the business, and I had to figure out how to go sell new accounts, and I had to get really scrappy really fast. And so I figured out I just started learning some grassroots techniques. We started, just right out of the gate, learned grassroots techniques. So that was my first just kind of like baptism by fire, and then went down, started working for a Fortune 100 company, Ecolab, which is so I started working for restaurants, then I moved over to Cisco Foods, again, restaurants, and so I did a lot of restaurant consulting, very small business oriented, and I actually built a restaurant consulting program for them where we actually built a whole consulting program. I actually taught myself how to use Excel, and I built a whole marketing, like a whole consulting program using Excel for them. And then, but I really started to understand from an early age, especially working for Cisco, that the system is rigged against small businesses, right? And that was kind of early on. And so I started, and I learned that I had no idea how to really help my customers when I started, because I just didn't know anything about restaurants. So I started just learning everything I could about their pain and their problems and their challenges. And so I basically started learning how to be a consultant. And that I kind of taught myself consultative sales and taught myself marketing, consultative sales. And this was when I was 24, 25, and I just kind of started figuring out some of those things. This was when Adobe was just starting to be a thing. Brandon, you weren't even a thought in your mom's head back then, right? So, actually, no, maybe you were like, I don't know, maybe you're running around
I was
in
probably
diapers.
playing with Ninja Turtles at that point.
Yeah, maybe. But, so at that point, I started to build websites for my clients and do marketing plans for my clients on the side. And that's kind of how I started going down. Like I was basically supporting my sales with marketing strategy, right? And I found that I started gravitating towards marketing. So, and then I just kind of like, started setting up a whole like, and then I just kind of moved over to a marketing company. So anyway, so my marketing career kind of got born out of all of this, and then I kind of bounced between marketing and sales over a few years. And then, long story short, although that was not a short story, long story short, as AI kind of evolved, we kind of looked at this as an opportunity to really leverage AI for businesses, for small businesses especially, right? Because I'm very passionate about giving small businesses an edge over the large competitors, because I feel like, I kind of caught that, that passion for the small businesses and the underdog, and the system is being rigged against them, and especially now, right? I think with COVID kind of started it, and then you had this economic downturn, and all these things are, and then the economy just keeps getting worse and worse for small businesses, and we're looking at ways for, and really made simpler. We leverage an international team, and then we leverage AI, and we've been building AI tools and building AI tools and building AI tools and leveraging all the tools that are out there to stack all these ways for small businesses to win against their juggernauts now, because these larger competitors just have all these advantages that small businesses don't have. So that's really our goal, and that's our passion, right?
You're the
And
hero
that
we
was a
need, but
lot,
don't
so I'm
deserve,
sorry. I'm
right?
going to pause and let you guys talk.
Yeah. Hero that small businesses need but don't deserve. Is that right? Or maybe they
Yeah.
deserve you, but they don't know that they. I don't know what that is. All right.
I
So,
love it. Oh, I love it.
yeah, Ben, we're definitely going to fast forward through that long thing, but that's okay. That's production's job.
Yeah,
No, thank
just
you
play like the first
for
two
giving the
words and then the
whole.
last two words,
Yeah,
and you'll be good.
yeah, we're good. I think everybody's interested in learning about what makes us go, how we fit together, how made simpler and Ben fit with Gladly. What's their do good story, and what's this be the better thing that I mentioned.
So, we're kind of looking at this, and this is something we've been, looking at partnering with Gladly, and really just building a way to build people, right? And for us, it's really about how can you build people, and how can you focus on growing people rather, and focus on um, focus on people rather than focus on profit, right? And that's really the way we're looking at it. And for us, it's about staying humble. It's about doing the right thing. It's about people before profits, and and that's really kind of what we're looking at, right? It's about growth, not ego, and that's kind of the way we're looking at it, right? And it's sometimes you have to make hard decisions where you really focus on growing the right companies, looking at companies that are not necessarily profit driven, but they're value driven, and partnering with those companies. But I think that there's so many people out there that are just looking out for themselves, right? And
Yeah,
I think it's a challenge, right?
I've
What are your thoughts on that?
so I have a business partner that we've talked about before, the blessing lives. We said we need to bless lives,
Yeah,
buzzer counter in this, but we've talked about that being kind of the mission statement of Eco Solutions and of Gladly. And one of my
yeah,
partners always says, "We'll never go broke doing the right thing." I don't know if historically that plays out exactly that way. I'm pretty sure that there's plenty of really, really good people who've tried to do really good things that may have failed, but I definitely feel that way from the Gladly perspective. Just when we look at everything through a lens of how is this helping people, how is this blessing their lives, it all just kind of falls into place and starts working out.
yeah,
And and that's what we're trying to do here with Gladly. That's what we're trying to help Ben build with the Be the Better. And yeah, we just want to help people. We talk a lot about that, but it's I don't know. it's a lot of lip service from a lot of people. That's not really the case with us. We
Well,
really genuinely want to do that.
and that's, I mean, that's kind of, and that's like our origin story, right? It's like two crazy guys that got together in an Afghan restaurant, and we literally just said, "Hey, we wanna build a better world, and we don't really know how we're going to do that. We don't exactly know how we're going to work together, but we know we have the same value system, right? And we're gonna kind of just get started with the idea that we're going to move forward in a way that blesses lives, right? And I think that, I have the be the better, you have the blessed lives, and those philosophies really converge in a really great way. And I think that's the cool thing. I think we just had a really synergistic moment in that Afghan restaurant. It was like, hey, we're going to work together. We just got to figure out how, right? And I think it's moved really fast.
It
That's what I
has.
love about that.
Yeah, we've scooted along, and Ben mentioned his international team, and just all kudos to them. They've really taken hold of this be the better, blessed lives path that we're walking down,
Yeah,
and they're running with it. It's amazing to see their ideas coming to life that are part of this mission or this philosophy that we have. So uh, it's been awesome.
yeah.
So
Truth be told, you should have the team on here, and not me. They're the super ninjas that are getting us where we
it's
want to go.
true. It's true, but they're much more modest, I think.
But they're also much more intelligent, right?
Maybe it's
Uh,
possible. I will neither confirm nor deny that statement.
You're just trying to be nice.
So,
oh.
what's a moment then that was kind of the pivot point that shifted your purpose from profits to people, from bottom lines to blessing lives? Like, was there something that happened, or was it just has it always been there? What do you think?
So I guess this is, I don't know that I can make this succinct, but so kind of talked about that Cisco experience, right? And I think that was, I was in those restaurants and I was watching these entrepreneurs just dying on the vine, right? These small businesses, because when you start at like that type of a company, they don't give you like the big restaurants. They're like, hey, these are my worst customers. Go and figure it out with these guys, right? And so you have to go in and like you have to get scrappy, and you have to teach them to get scrappy. And so that's why I basically came in and I'm like, these guys are struggling, and like, so how can I help them? Like, how can I be an asset to them? And so I kind of learned, what it is that these struggling entrepreneurs need to be successful. And I learned principles by reading all the restaurant consulting books, and then I taught those principles. And I said, hey, look, you know what? You're buying from 6 different vendors. Let me teach you how to be successful. And if, in return, just buy all your food from me so that, so you're not running all over. I mean, these guys are going to Costco, they're going to Sam's Club, and that's wasting their time. They're not focusing on their business. So I help you, you help me, we both win, right? That was the strategy. And I called it a partner, literally called it partners in profit. So that was like aha moment number one. And then and then in for I think there was a really big moment where I was working for a company, and I'm going to leave this company's name out of it, but I was working for a guy who was very, very hard on his employees. And this is when Be the Better was formed, and I was his embedded CMO, and he was brutal. So I would go, and we scaled his team really fast. We were very successful. I mean, we 5x'd his revenue with his SDR team and his marketing, and I mean, we were growing super fast. And he would come in and he would just berate the SDR team and just degrade them to the point that they're just like, and then sales would just drop. And I don't, he did it just for an ego purpose. And then he would be like, hey, Ben, you've got to go fire 3 people. I'm like, why am I firing 3 people? The team is rocking and rolling. It's just going to like demoralize everybody. and he just like it was just crazy what's going on, right? And it was really hard for me to be in that kind of an environment because we were winning because of the positive environment, right? And so what I did is I created the Be the Better, the principles of Be the Better, specifically to build a core team and build the moral groundwork for the team. And we literally had these principles that I built so that we could have just some moral framework, right? And I actually pushed it out to this particular individual, and I said, look, we're gonna hit these benchmarks, and we're gonna have these principles, and if I hit these benchmarks, if the team hits these benchmarks, you can no longer do what you're doing. And I added to it, I added a success acceleration plan, which is an alternative to a PIP, right? And you guys know what a PIP is?
Yeah.
So the success acceleration plan basically said, you can no longer force me to fire somebody without grounds, and here's the structure for it, and here's how we go about it. And it's structured in a really positive way. Basically said, as a manager, this is what I'm required to do. Anyway, so it set up some groundwork that protected the team. And I basically said, this is what you have to do. And I basically forced him to do certain things. And I said, guys, we're going to operate in this framework of positivity. I basically put the team in a bubble, right? And I said, I can't control what this guy does, but I am going to control my world as much as I can control it. And quite frankly, I was miserable working for that person. And so I had to say, look, I can only control what I can control, and I'm going to control my world. And that's where Be the Better came from. And so does that make sense? So it's like, I have to control my, and I had to and I just managed down, and I tried to manage up as much as I could, but I can't control a crazy person from destroying his own world, right? It's like a guy with a bat in a glass house who just goes berserk. You can't control that when he owns the world, He owns that house, right? So that's I just did everything I could to protect the team as much as I could, and that was the framework that I created.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And you're, drawing a line between work and worth and protecting your team from
It was far
so
from
many
perfect,
things.
though, Jamie. It was far from perfect because you cannot isolate a team from somebody that is at that level. But the team still, it separated me from him. It also gave them some level of self-worth because he would degrade them. It was horrible, right? He would degrade them so far, and they at least could come back. They could bounce back faster, right? Mm-hmm. And they at least knew that I was not. There was a clear separation, right? And they knew that as their team leader, as their CMO, I did not share the CEO's view of them, and we had our own. It just created that isolation or that separation and insulation, and it was helpful. I still have really good relationships with a lot of these guys. I mean, this is like two and a half, almost 3 years ago, and I still get messages. We still talk on the phone. I have really good relationships with all these guys because of that. So I think it's important, right? You have to build who you are, and you have to stick to that, right? Regardless of what's going on, you have to establish your values, and you have to draw those lines, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sometimes the best example that you have or the best drive that you have to do good is watching a great example of bad.
Yeah. Yep.
When you see those
polar
opposites and you're like, I don't know where I'm going to fall here, but I know it's going to be on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have ever created Be the Better if I wasn't in that environment of darkness. You know what I mean? And it was like my wife was like, she was like, you were changed by that person, and I was constantly fighting to not become a dark person. You know what I mean? And so it was like I had to establish those what I wasn't going to allow to happen to me or to my people. You know what I mean? I will not do this, and how do I not do it? Well, I have to establish these principles, right? And so it's And kind of the core principles of Be the Better are, it's like, how does somebody like Michael Jordan compete against, like, who's he competing against? He's competing against himself, right? So he has to create these value systems to say, look, if I'm competing against myself, like, I can't just say I'm the best. I have to become better than the best, right? So how do I become better than the best? I've got to like take my ego out of it, and I've just got to say, look, when I get to that level, I'm just going and going and going and going further, right? And that's kind of where we as a team decided that we were going to go. It's like, once we get, because the team would tell me, hey, we can't do any more cells beyond where we're at, and I'm like, yeah, you can. You're at 70%. I know you guys can do more. And then it was like, let's just go further. Let's go. And so we gamified it. We just kept going, and they're just like, they were just so excited, right? And it was like pushing them beyond what they thought was possible. That was the coolest thing. Like, they just kept telling me, well, and they were coming up with ideas on what they could do, right? We gamified it to the point where it's like, we had it so that the first, like, we had it so they got points for being the first person to get a meeting of the day, and then the last person to get a meeting of the day, and then they were like fighting for those appointments, right? So it was like they were calling at like 6 a.m. and at like 6 p.m, which maybe was not, a little too early and a little too late, but they were like pushing the envelope, right? Because they wanted to get those extra meetings, and they were just proving what was possible, right? I think when you decide, when you get past what's possible, and you decide that that's what Michael Jordan and these elite athletes do. They just forget about what is the perceived ceiling, and they just push past it, right?
Yeah, yeah, they make the ceiling the floor.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just lift yourself up high enough.
Yeah, it's really cool to
The
see when
baseline
somebody
changes.
when somebody gets to that point, and they just decide they're just going to push, and they keep pushing and they keep pushing, right? It's just really cool to see somebody prove that to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we like to, joke around a little bit, and this has been pretty serious so far. So here's a mildly related question for you. So if Made Simpler were a cereal, would it be more like Lucky Charms or Raisin Bran?
Hmm. Probably Raisin Bran. And I kind of hate to say that, but I think it would be probably Raisin Bran.
I mean, so I think there's positives to both here, right? Like
I
Raisin
think
Bran to
there
me,
are.
I mean, Raisin Bran, I actually genuinely like Raisin Bran,
I like
but
Raisin Bran too.
the Raisin Bran actually does something theoretically for you. Like it's not just empty, and it might not be the flashiest. It doesn't have the cool marshmallows and the character that goes with it, but it's actually doing something.
It is. And I
So it's
actually really
it's a
like
lot
the
more
taste of Raisin
substance than
Bran
it is
too.
fluff.
But I really do like Lucky Charms. So, I mean, that's why that was a hard one to answer. I
Yeah.
really do like Lucky Charms. But I mean, if I was going to pick one, it would probably be Boo Berry. You
Blueberry.
know,
Blueberry?
Boo Berry is pretty good.
Yeah.
Blueberry as an example of made simpler, or
No,
blueberry just that's
I'm
what you
just
want to
saying,
eat.
just because
Just he likes Blueberry.
You just
yeah,
like blueberry.
I
He's a
would
big
just go
fan of Blueberry.
eat it. Like, if I was going to go eat a cereal, that would be it.
And it's just the berries, right? Like it's not because
No, it's got
Captain Crunch will
marshmallows.
like
I've never even
Captain
heard
Crunch
of
will
it.
like destroy your mouth. Like if you take
Oh
one
yeah,
little
then you
bite,
got
it'll
that
like
film, right?
yeah,
Yeah, the film's no
Then you
good.
got
film
that
will
film, and so I have a love-hate relationship with Captain Crunch. I always did, because I would eat it, and then I would regret it because it just like sticks on your
yeah,
mouth.
it just feel
But then I'd still eat it.
oh, of course, sweet and delicious.
It's kind of a love-hate relationship, right?
Is
Yeah.
blueberry the berries from Captain Crunch? Well, I've never
Now
even
you
heard of
got me
blueberry.
confused.
Blueberry.
No, I don't know. You're gonna have to look it up, Jamie.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to go to the store and look. Like, yeah, it
No,
has
you can only
marshmallows.
Why
you'll have to look it up.
I'm gonna
My
have
son
to.
tried, he just got done with a bodybuilding competition, and so he's been like starving for the last 2 months, 3 months. And so he's finally eating again, and he's like decided he wants cereal for like every meal. And so he found waffle crisp the other day and was like, "Why have we never gotten this before?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's pretty good." And then
That also
he
leaves the film.
yeah, and then he got Honey Crisp this morning. He ate Honey Crisp, and he was like, "This is a really underrated cereal." And I'm like, I think it actually really is. I think
So
it's just
you
really
know,
good.
all right, now we're really off topic. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the flow of your podcast is here. Maybe this is maybe cereal is like a really important part of your show. Do you know what is a really good cereal that is one of my favorite cereals that is kind of my go-to is Cracklin' Oat Bran. That would be kind of like
Mm,
Yeah,
that
that's a
is a
good one.
really good
it
cereal.
reminds me of like cat food, kind of, but in
A
a
little bit, but
not bad way. Like just the consistency.
right.
I'm like, I feel like a cat would be
Well,
eating
you
this,
gotta let it soak. Like
but
you gotta you
I
have to
also
let it soak.
really
It's like
like.
grape nuts. You have to let it soak, right?
Oh, grape nuts is a whole different animal. That's like kitty litter.
That is kitty litter.
I think grape nuts like breed in a bowl and make more every time. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm out on grape nuts. We're
No, no,
not doing.
I don't.
Do you eat
I'm
grape
saying it's
warm?
like grape
I've only
nuts
had
in that
grape
you
nuts
have to
hot.
soak
Tell you
it.
what, if what would you say? I mean, Jamie, what would you say would be a cereal that would represent
Oh,
Gladly then?
oh,
Right? Like
geez. I, uh, I don't know. Maybe, hmm, maybe marshmallow mateys. So not really Lucky Charms,
the
but
off-brand,
it's the off
the
brand.
generic.
Yes.
Okay,
It's the malt
okay.
mill of Lucky Charms, which actually, in my opinion, is better. The like cereal part is bigger and more filling and doesn't
It,
leave the yucky film in your mouth, but the marshmallows are still kind of the same, but they're pirate themed instead of shapes, So maybe
Yeah.
marshmallow
Less
maybes?
leprechauns, more pirates.
mm,
Yeah.
Okay.
I,
I think that's valid. I can
that's
accept that.
reasonable.
We're eclectic group, we
Took us
got a
some
lot
time to
of
get there, but I'll go with it.
So here's another one for the group. We've been on this path together, building Gladly, and Ben's been a huge part of that,
yeah.
and his team has. So, are we the IKEA equivalent of like the last little part that you walk through with all the accessories that are already put together, or are we like the 700-piece nightmare with missing screws?
Can I make a confession before I answer that?
You've never been to IKEA?
I have never actually walked into an IKEA. I've
Okay.
Ben,
never tried the Swedish meatballs.
Ben.
I've just never
Brandon and I
been
were
to an
just talking
IKEA.
about this, about how you can like eat lunch at Costco, Sam's Club, and
If I
IKEA.
lived close enough to a Costco, Sam's Club, and IKEA, I would rotate through them all week long.
I've been to the others plenty of times, just never an IKEA.
Ben, this
But
is like a this. Don't even go to buy anything. I mean, you're going to because it's IKEA,
I
but don't
understand
go to
it's
buy
a rite
anything.
of passage.
Just walk through it and take in the experience of
All
this.
right, I'll tell you what. I will find the time to go through, and we will FaceTime when I do.
Okay, there's one
oh,
in Draper, right?
I know where
So
it's
we'll
at.
meet there. We'll meet
By
there
the
for lunch.
aquarium.
We'll
you
meet there
should
for lunch.
you should
All
go with
right, we'll
Brandon.
go there.
Yes.
It's right by the aquarium. I know where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took my wife to the
I
aquarium. We didn't make it to the IKEA.
I can't even think of an equivalent to
No.
IKEA for your question. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
think you're going to have to just leave me out of this one, but knock yourself out.
I think that if I were going to, just classify us here, have you ever seen anybody that takes like IKEA furniture and turns it into something completely different? Like,
absolutely.
like, yeah, this was going to be a closet, but turns out it's not. Like, we're making this into like a wardrobe that you can walk through to Narnia, right? Like, I don't know, but I feel like that's kind of the way Gladly is, or the way it's been built is like we had all these instructions that we thought were the right ones, We got like halfway through and we were like, crap, we're not building a table. Like we're supposed to be building a bed frame. And we didn't think about it. And so we don't want to go back to IKEA and admit that we didn't want this table. So we just like took the pieces we had and we're like, here's this really cool weird bed frame that nobody else will ever have. Because
So, Brandon, that is typically, well, okay, so when you're building a small business, and that is, when you're building a business in a space that hasn't really been created, right? So, like, okay, so there's a couple different things, right? If you're like saying, hey, I have a product, I want to sell it on Amazon, and I know what the product is, and I know what the market is, and I'm just going to go live and sell it on Amazon. That's a really simple business. You came to me and you said, I want to, you know, I mean, let's be clear. You came to me and we talked about teeth for an hour, right? And it's like we're talking about, we do fillings, and we talked about fillings and how the like we talked about that for an hour. Then we talked about Gladly, and Gladly was a very, very cerebral concept when we talked about it, right? And we didn't know what Gladly was going to be when we started, right? So, and I think that when you're in that kind of a situation, you kind of have to start on a path and be willing to allow that path to evolve, right? And you have to be flexible. And I think it becomes what it becomes, right? And I think, like there's a lot of businesses that they just have to allow it to adapt and become, and they have to listen to the market. They have to say, hey, we're thinking this. What do you guys think? And then they're like, okay, now we're going to make some changes. Made Simpler, we did that, right? We had some theories on where we were going to be. We threw out some price points. We flexed based on those theories. Then we came out with some new thoughts about what we were going to do and market. And then we flexed. And then now we are who we are, right? And so, I think that, because AI was emerging, right? And I think for us, that's what we had to do, right? To become who we are today, right? Because it's just markets change and situations change, and you have an idea of who you want to be and what you think the market can bear. I mean, that's what Instagram came out as a photo app, and now it's a completely different app, right? And it's, if they would have stayed as a photo app, they would have died. So, I think you have to go where the market bears, and you have to be smart enough to listen.
yeah.
So, and I think you've done that, right? You've listened to the market, and
Yeah,
you've worked, and
I
you've
think it's this strange ability to bend but not break, to borrow like a really commonly used term. And
yeah,
in the sense that like we're going to be flexible about how this is delivered, but the thing that we're not flexible about is the mission, right? Like
correct.
we're going to focus on impact and blessing lives. That's it, right? Like
Yes,
that's the whole piece of furniture right there. And
yes,
what it looks like once we're done is that depends on the market, and honestly, it's somewhat irrelevant to like the beginning of that. Like whatever shapes around that backbone, fine, but the backbone's got to be there, and that's what I think I've seen Made Simpler do. That's what hopefully
hmm
we're doing with Gladly, and that's the thing about starting any kind of business. It's we all know it's hard. Everybody talks about it being hard,
yeah,
right? But what some people do is if you go in and you go, look, I know that this business can make money, and that's why I'm doing this. I just feel like it would be so much more difficult if you didn't have this passion and this driving belief
yeah,
and to really hold you in place there and sustain you. And
yeah,
so that's I feel like what we're doing with Gladly and with Made Simpler as well.
yeah. I think we have a shared belief that we help other people get what they want, and we will inevitably get what we want, right? So I think, and it's interesting because I think you and I or we collectively all feel like, I mean, my goal is to find people that are passionate about things, and then I'm going to help them build their passion, right? That is what I feel like I'm really good at, is I'm really good at developing passion, and building passion, right? And that's what, I've built. I have a really great team of geniuses, right, that are highly skilled. I've empowered them with AI, and we built some, we found and built some really good tools that take somebody who's very skilled and affects their ability to just like you've got Carol, you've got Juan, you've got Palab, you've got, Sam is now part of the team, and they're all coming in here and they're just getting behind you and pushing, right? So you've got a lot of momentum behind your vehicle now to really start going fast in your passion, right? And that's what our goal is. That's our job, right? And the thing I think you're doing really well is you're finding other people that are passionate and you're bringing them in, right? And you're bringing them in and saying, hey, you've got passion. Let's bring you in and let's build a network around your passion, right? And so now we have a lot of shared people that have passion and we're all driving towards
It's that
blessing love, right?
magnification, right? The
Yeah.
exponential factors there, where we all make each other and make each other better, amplify our
Yep.
voices. Group singing is going to be louder than one person, and so
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we're after. And just kind of to segue into kind of a final like wrap up question here. What does success look like? And let me preface this, and I'll tell this story. I already mentioned my son was in a bodybuilding contest, and this was his second one, and he worked so incredibly hard, and he was hangry, and I really did not like him as a human being for several weeks. But like he was dedicated, and I respect that tremendously. And he walked away from this, and I, as a non bodybuilding judge, looked at it and went, "There's no way that he shouldn't have placed here. He should have gotten, at least fourth or fifth, and he didn't, and that stinks, and that's not fair." And he very maturely said, I did everything I was supposed to do, followed my diet perfectly, followed my workout plans perfectly, did my posing training, did all of these things. So the measure of success was never, am I going to place?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
measure of success for him was, did I give it 100%? And am I proud of what I accomplished for me? Not
Yeah.
because somebody else told me I did, but because I look at myself in the mirror, literally, because it's such a vain competition. I look at myself in the mirror and go, I'm proud of this, right? And
Yeah.
so, to me, that's more of a measure of success than an outward side. We've had this conversation, Ben, about to be a business, you have to have some level of like, you got to have revenue, we got to have profit. We can't, this isn't a nonprofit. We've got to have these things to make ourselves go. But at the end of the day, the measure of success for Gladly is, are we building up our partners who are trying to make an impact? Are we unifying and helping offices? Are we blessing lives, right? Like, and that's number three is kind of the summation of all of that. And if we can say, yes, we're doing that, then we're successful. So what do you see as success for Made Simpler? Or maybe it's something you've seen in another company that you're inspired by, but how would you define success?
So for and I know it's interesting, for Made Simpler, and I think there's a couple of levels, right? We're building an organization that is internally, it's really owned by all the team members, right? So my goal is to make sure that we can bless the lives of the team, right? So that's the first thing, right? Then our goal is to we're looking at and we're still fleshing this out, right? We're looking at building out some sort of a scholarship for businesses, and so we're still working on what that looks like. But I think so first we want to bless the lives of our team members and make sure that that they are starting to, this isn't about building wealth for Ben. This is about building wealth for, for our team members. And then, then we need to extend it out to the communities that our team touches, right? And how can we extend this out? And then, how can we impact impactful people, right? So how can we help impactful people be impactful, right? And I think connecting with Gladly has been just a huge blessing for us. And then, we're starting to bring on, I think, some really exciting people that I think are, that we're starting to market for, that I think are also starting to, I think, like, replicate this motion. And I think for us, it's, that's why we don't necessarily always look for, hey, is this a profitable motion necessarily? It's like, we're willing to sometimes take a loss on the front side so we can help people grow their business if it can, and we'll figure out how to be profitable eventually, right? I think those are some of the things that we're looking at doing, because if we can help those people start blessing more lives and,
Yeah.
have community impact, right? And I think there's a lot of new projects we're bringing on right now, where we've got people that are building community programs, which are just really exciting right now. And I think they're getting involved with Gladly. It's I think it's just getting really exciting. So for me, success is having community impact in a broader way. We're going to define that as we get further along, and I think that we'll have a more defined program. And I think as we hit the next phase of Made Simpler's business, we're going to start having a more defined impact program. We don't have that quite yet, but that's our next goal, is to have more of a defined impact program.
So Jamie, same question, and you're last, so you can't repeat anything we've said. Good luck.
I might. Same question. What
Yeah,
defines
same question.
success?
Yeah, what does it look like? And again, you can go the route of, like, this is what I've seen that I consider a successful organization or company or, individual or whatever, that maybe it doesn't look the same.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I really look for, I mean, I guess to kind of overkill the word or keep continuing to use the word impact, but I look for change in people for the better. And like, and it's pretty obvious when that happens, people change, and if you help them, and kind of along the same things like Ben was saying, of like helping. I mean, I love to help people see their potential and reach their potential, or even go beyond, because a lot of times it just takes encouragement, and it could be a lot of encouragement or even just a little bit, but it takes that little push of building confidence, or even like blatantly calling somebody out of like, hey, you have this, like, you have this skill, I see it in you, but let me help you develop it. And maybe just a little bit of redirection, or teaching them something that helps manifest that better. For me, success really is just is like having someone that you've helped see that success or that change in themselves. That's
Yeah.
that's success for me. It's not really, it doesn't have anything to do with me, but I like to see other people, succeed. And just like you've kind of relayed the story with your son, the path, the journey was that he did, of being committed to that process, is what it got him to the end. And that's the success, because that's the lessons that he's had to learn. And, I mean, that's not easy. That's not easy, sticking to, having a goal that's months out, and sticking to a very regimented plan and being able to do that. But the journey, he was successful in the journey. So that's what, and I mean, in education and in athletics and in business, I think that seeing that change, and the change and the positive impact is what equals success.
I
The
love that.
change, people meeting their potential,
Yeah.
recognizing the power that they have,
Yeah. And I
all
kind of
of
hate
those
to use the
things.
word potential, because I think potential is kind of like, I hate the reason why I hate using the word potential is because it's always like, oh, they have so much potential in a negative context, right? It's like,
Yes.
oh, they've never actually
Yeah.
reached their potential. But everybody has potential. Everybody can,
Yeah.
shoot for the
Well,
stars, right?
yeah,
Instead
and
of limiting people on like, oh, they actually haven't been able to do that. Well, they can. They just need the right support to
Yeah.
do that. And that's where I like to kind of dig into like the bone, like the nitty gritty of stuff is like, how can I impact people to be the best that they can be or beyond? Instead of
Yeah.
having someone like, oh, they had so much potential, but they just never quite
Well,
figured that out.
and
So,
that's powerful, Jamie. You know, that's one of the things like what I started to realize, especially on that team when I was managing that team, and I started to realize this too. I was on another team working for a large sales organization here locally in Utah. Um, people people become people believe when you tell them that they can succeed and you really reinforce that on a daily basis, they believe it, right? And if you do the opposite, right, like it takes a rare person to not believe that, right? So if you degrade them and you degrade them and you degrade them and there's no positive reinforcement to overcome that, it's a rare person who can like find it in themselves to like go against that, right? And there are some people that will actually go against it to despite you, right? And that's like a really rare impressive person, but it takes a lot of like positive strength to do that. But people become who you tell them that they are, right? And so if you tell somebody that they can win, and you set a path that helps them to win, right? Then they can win. It's like that success acceleration plan. I actually built that at well, it was at MarketStar, right? We had built that at MarketStar where I had leadership was trying to get me to fire people there, and we actually built it there. And I was managing a team there, and I had another team that was being managed in negativity. And we found that I was with the success acceleration plan. We were actually getting about 35% improvement in people that were on the success acceleration plan that were not being fired or were actually like improving and managing out versus people that were being put on PIPs. So it's because it was positive reinforcement. The managers were managing in positivity versus negativity. They would work through and actually come back and actually be better employees, right? Because it was managing out of positivity. And if you tell somebody they can win, they'll win, right? And I love the way that you put that, right? I think it's just, developing people and really focusing on building people. It's such a, on a success level, it's just so rewarding.
yeah, it
yeah,
is. Well, and I think to kind of add to that, it's also, from a leadership side or as a team leader, is putting people in the right positions.
Yeah,
So also you have to recognize maybe they're not being as successful because you got them in the wrong position.
yeah,
It's so being a leader and being able to recognize that and motivating them, but also being like, oh, I think you might be better here than here, and just that little bit of
yeah,
push or even switch in mindset. And I've seen it with your team of, and other teams I've been on, but we've worked with Made Simpler, but it's like you've built it. I mean, you have an amazing team. You do, and every player, they overlap some, but they
yeah,
also have very distinct lanes of what they're really good at, and to allow them to be able to do that makes everybody successful.
yeah.
yeah.
So
But
I think
even with our
it's
team, we've
huge.
had to work through some challenges of with where I've we've been moving too fast and we've put the people in the wrong roles. And right
Yep.
now we're actually doing a little bit of restructuring to get a little bit more refined and defined, and it's helping, right? That's
Yeah.
actually one of the roles that Sam's doing. He's coming in and saying, "Hey, do we have the right fit here? Let's tighten this up," and it helps, right? Because I think people get happier when they feel heard and they feel listened to, and it helps a lot, right?
Yeah.
I think right now one of the challenges I'm having is I don't have the time to do the one-on-ones and really do the coaching like I like to do. And it's one of my biggest frustrations right now actually. It's like I
Yeah.
really love to lean in and make sure my people feel heard, and Sam's been helping with that a lot.
Which I think
But
that's great though.
yeah,
But
it is.
you have the ability to recognize that too, which
Yeah.
is unusual. Instead of just keeping like, the nose to the grindstone and just do it. It's like, no, we can step back, we can make changes.
Yeah.
And you surround yourself with good people with the same mission and vision, good things are going to happen.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
Sure.
yeah. I think
It's
it's great.
definitely critical in an organization.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thanks for joining us. Thanks for
Yeah.
taking the time and sharing your story with us, talking to us about being a true leader that's making real differences and helping people change. And that's what Be the Better is all about. That's what Blessing Lives is all about. Is just helping people. And so yeah, again, thanks for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
We'll see if we can squeeze you into another one of these, or at least squeeze your team in.
Yeah, that'd be better. I mean, you're definitely going to get more good quality out of my team, right?
I don't know
That's where
about
the real
that.
gold nuggets are.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, join us for the next one where we're going to talk about something different. I don't know what that something is right now, but we're going to talk about something different with someone different, and we're
That's
going to
right.
ask questions, and we'll be glad that we ask those questions.
Yes.
Right? All right.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to everybody soon.